We will not leave! We will not leave! Oh, hello. My name is Hala, and I am a revolutionary. Can you tell? Before, I never thought of myself as an activist. Before, I was just the daughter of a poor farmer. We grew up in a small family, only 7 brothers and sisters. What? In Egypt, that's what we call a small family. I had to leave school when I was 8 years old to help care for my younger brothers and sisters, so I never learned how to read or write. But I found much peace in my religion and would sometimes sit for hours with our Holy Quran, brushing my fingers against the swooping calligraphy. I was a normal daughter and then became a normal wife and mother to my husband Yusuf and our beautiful daughter Yasmin. 5 years ago, my whole family moved to Cairo, so my husband and father could find better work for more money. Jobs were hard to find, but my Yusuf was finally able to get work in construction. We were so happy and began saving to open our own bakery. But one morning, Yusuf woke up with this cough. Nothing unusual. The air is terrible here. We cough a lot in Cairo. But the cough kept getting worse. The chemicals they had used while plastering had filled his lungs. One morning, he could not stop coughing, and so we went to the public hospital. The doctors told us they had no more beds left and sent us away. We could not afford a private hospital, as one night would cost us a year's wages. And so they gave us some expired pills for pneumonia and sent him home to die. And 9 days later, Yusuf is gone. Allah yarhamu. After he died, I had to find a job and do all of the shopping on my own. But there were always so many flirtatious men bothering me on the streets. Hey baby, I heard your husband died. You must be going crazy with desire. I can take care of your needs. Nice eyes, hot lips, sexy ass. Sometimes they did this to me when I had my daughter. It was so much trouble trying to figure out what armor to wear every day. I had always dressed modestly and covered my hair with the hijab, but decided to put on the abaya so I could leave our apartment in peace. I just wanted to focus on taking care of my Yasmin. I was finally able to get work at a cleaning service company, making only 500 Egyptian pounds a month. That is like $2 a day. It wasn't enough, and so I also started ironing shirts and had to take an hour bus to get there. It was a bumpy ride that was always packed with men. Sometimes they would push very close to me. Too close, if you know what I mean. But I always had my veil pin ready. I would just hold it, and anyone who was too fresh got pricked. All this for an extra $1 a day. I knew my country had problems. Our leaders and military generals steal money from the state to live like kings in their mansions. Meanwhile, we do not even have enough to buy the day's bread. Everyone sees it and hates it. But like everyone, I felt powerless to make a change. And then I heard about this young man from Tunis.
On December 17th, Mohammed Bouazizi, a single man who had supported his widowed mother and siblings since the age of 10, took to the streets with his fresh produce cart to earn a day's wage.
At around 10 a.m., as he was making his way through the streets, the policewoman began to harass my son, so he called his uncle to help him. She left him alone, only to return later to confiscate his cart. Mohammed said no. The policewoman took the fruit, but when she tried to take his scales, Mohammed refused. She slapped him and began to insult and curse his father.
Mohammed, frustrated and ashamed by the public humiliation he endured at the hands of police, set himself on fire outside the local municipality building. His closest friends, anguished by Mohammed's actions, took to the streets and began a popular uprising that lasted for weeks.
This is what popular uprising looks like. After weeks of scenes like these across the country, resulting in dozens dead. It appears to be the end for Tunisia's president after 23 years in power. Some were in shock from the emotion brought on by such a dramatic political development.
For If it weren't for my daughter Yasmin, I would have never gone to Tahrir Square to protest. But I wanted her to have a better life. My mother-in-law did not approve. It is shameful for a woman to go to the square. What's shameful is for a country to let its people go hungry, be illiterate, and live in fear. And so, I went.
Imagine this, Christmas in Cairo. I had been living with my boyfriend in Lebanon since he started teaching at the American University in Beirut. The holidays were approaching and we were planning on visiting Turkey until he said, I got a better idea. What do you say we go to Egypt? And I say, Egypt, what about Turkey? And he says, Turkey's for pussies right now. Cairo's where the action's at. So I thought about it. Egypt? They're still going through their revolution, aren't they? I kind of used to be a revolutionary. Sort of, when I was younger. I don't remember how I actually became an activist because I grew up on a ranch in South Texas, and my parents never let us do anything that they thought was dangerous, which is like a whole lot of stuff. For example, I was never allowed to go trick-or-treating, and I could never stay home alone, and I didn't even cross the street by myself until I was 18 years old. So obviously nothing bad ever happened to me. But I was always pissed off with little injustices like, why did I always have to clean up after my brothers? And why did I always have to go to church when they could just stay home and play video games? It wasn't fair. But then college came around and changed everything. I joined MECHA, el Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán, where we rallied with the United Farm Workers during their great boycott and chanted, Uvas no! Uvas no! I even got to meet Cesar Chavez. I also started an AIDS awareness club with my friend Dan, and for our Halloween party, I wore this big raincoat covered with condoms. I was Miss Protection and a virgin. I also joined Amnesty International, and I wrote these long, heartfelt letters to dictators all over the world, demanding that they stop torturing their citizens and stop just being mean in general, you know? Like, be a nice dictator. I don't know. I just always felt like I wanted to change things that were unjust, especially for women. So maybe going to Egypt would be kind of like getting back to my revolutionary roots. But is it safe? I heard that Egyptian men have a really fucked up idea when it comes to women. So I decided to check out TripAdvisor for advice from other female travelers. Let's see. OMG. I am from London, and my girlfriends and I had the most awful week in our hotel pool. When we wanted to lay in our bikinis, it became very uncomfortable, and the men were trying to use goggles to leer at us under the pool. Egyptian men are perverts. Another 22-year-old Asian woman wrote, I was looking for some handcraft in the souk, and the owner told me he had more items in the back. I follow him. Silly me, I know it was an isolated shop, where he pretended to show me things and accidentally touched me in some private areas. What is wrong with Egyptian men? Well, these chicks sound like a couple of pendejas to me. I mean, I would never do anything that stupid. And besides, stuff like this, that happens everywhere. Like one time, I was at Ingram Park Mall because I needed to try on a hat, right? So I'm trying a bunch on in the mirror, and then I noticed this man standing behind me. Didn't think anything of it. But then I realized I was really short on time, and I had to go to Macy's to get some pantyhose. So I darted across the mall as fast as I could. I get to Macy's, I start combing through their medias, and then I look up, and there's the same exact dude. Also looking for pantyhose. Probably not a coincidence. So I go to tell the cashier and he just brushes me off and tells me to go report it to mall security. Yeah, right. Like some mall cop's gonna come save the day? I don't think so. So I ran out of there as fast as I could, and I kept looking behind me to make sure that creep wasn't still following me. Thank God he wasn't. But later on that night, I retold that story to my then boyfriend, and he had something very comforting to say to me. He asked me a very important question. Well, what were you wearing? But it was a very helpful question because it helped me answer another question like, is it time to dump you now? Yes, it is. And so I did. Another time, I was at the UTSA library studying, sitting at my favorite cubicle just like any other day. And I leaned back to ponder on my studies or just fantasize about what I wanted to protest next. Then all of a sudden I get this flash in my eyes that made me squint. So I looked down, and there's some asshole on the other side of the cubicle with this small mirror positioned to look up my miniskirt. Motherfucker! So I jumped up to face him and tell him what a low-life loser he is, but he just ran off like some beached cockroach. And again, I went to report it to the staff, but they couldn't give a shit. What's wrong with people? I mean, they post on Facebook if Taco Cabana gets their takeout order wrong, but then they put up with all these cochinos? So my point is that it's not just Egyptian men. But I read a lot of other stories about crazy harassment and thought, man, these guys sound really bad. I mean, what's gonna happen to me? How about if I'm alone exploring without my boyfriend? I mean, are they gonna be harassing me on the streets? Are they gonna be trying to grope me at the souk or try to rape me on a felucca ride down the Nile? I was totally freaking out, but remembered a couple of things. One, I'm not in my 20s anymore. I'm 40 something. Emphasis on the something. And I don't get harassed like I used to, damn it. Two, I don't wear a bikini anymore unless I want to tan my bonza because my sister always says dark fat looks better than white fat. But I'm not going to do it in front of other people. And three, I am not blonde and I'm not Asian. I'm a super Chicana and could probably pass for one of my Egyptian sisters. So maybe that'll help me out. So I thought about it and said, Egypt. Yeah, it's a pretty dangerous time to be there, pero chingao, let's do it! Vamos a Cairo!
Here I am, just like any other lousy day, hanging on the street with no money, no job, and nothing to do. Waiting for my life to begin, and thinking about that magic number. $3,000 fucking dollars. That's how much I need to save up before I can ask Layla's dad if she can marry me. You know how much I managed to save this last year? $79, which means at the rate I'm going, it will be in the early summer of 2052 before we hook up. And that's not even figuring for inflation. And not married, you understand, just engaged. The getting married part that runs you another $12,000, $13,000, and then I have to put a down payment on an apartment, buy her jewelry, a stove, refrigerator, and TV. Might as well make it 13 million. Which means, if I'm a good person, when I die, and inshallah, if I go to paradise, and if I'm really, really lucky, maybe, just maybe, one of those so-called 72 virgins waiting for me in heaven will look my way. And I'll finally get laid. All I really want anyway is to make love and make babies with my Layla. Is that asking for so much? But $3,000 fucking dollars. Hey, Gamila, you got nice eyes. Well, she does. That's not all that's nice, but hey, I don't talk about all that other stuff. I'm a gentleman. I've got sisters, and I won't flirt once I'm married. I mean, not flirt for real. You see, out here in Cairo, we got a code. You just tell them about their eyes. They know what you're really talking about. Hey, baby, I don't know what you're looking for, but I've got it. Sharmuta, slut, yeah, you're not all that. Eh? What? No, I'm just messing around, flirting. That chick wants me to shout at her. If she doesn't, then why is she wearing pants? Listen, I just mess with the ones who don't cover their hair. The bad girls. The veiled ones, I leave alone. Unless they're really hot. Then what am I supposed to do? Like this one coming now, Ewa! I mean, she could walk down any street she wanted. But no, she walks down my street. And I'm standing here. It's not like I've got some job I need to be at. What? Yeah, I work. I had a job. Serving coffee and tea at the shitty little cafe around the corner. From 6 in the morning until 10 at night. Working for the good and righteous Hajj Abdullah. Of course, he's really a lying, cheating thief. But that's all okay because he's a Haji. Made the pilgrimage to Mecca and walked in circles till he was all dizzy in the head. So now he's a man of Allahu Akbar. You know how much the good and righteous Al-Haji paid me for those 16 hours of work? Ashra lira. 10 pounds. Egyptian pounds, not the real ones like they've got in England. You know what you can buy with 10 Egyptian pounds? You can't buy shit with 10 Egyptian pounds. You can't even put a down payment on shit with 10 Egyptian pounds. Of course, Haji Abdullah used to say, yes, but you get benefits. What fucking benefits? The only benefit of the job is you could drink all of that stale-ass coffee of his you wanted. Wallah, lucky me. The real benefit of the job? You could spend most of the day just standing around, checking out the girls cruising by. Of course, most of the women in my neighborhood are so covered up, it's like watching a bunch of fat black hot air balloons floating down the street. But sometimes, even when they are all wrapped up, you can tell they might be pretty through the tiny slit for their eyes. And if you can see they have on eye makeup, well, they're just asking for it. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There's this big hole in front of the cafe sidewalk. Been like that ever since I was a little kid. Anyway, sometimes I would fill it with a bucket full of dirty water, so that when those women walk by in their niqabs, they have to lift up their skirt a little so it wouldn't get wet. And for a second or two, you could see their ankles. Every once in a while, you get a look of some really nice ankles. That was pretty cool. That was a benefit. Until last week, when some college bitch got on his way to Al-Haji and he fired me. If my lady Hirza was fired, she will dump me for sure.
I was born poor, was a poor child, until one day I became a poor man, like all men in Egypt. Well, almost all of them. You see, I did graduate from high school, and I wanted to become a doctor. But they told me I wasn't college material. In the meantime, all the kids whose dads were in the military somehow were college material, and they got all the good, do-nothing government jobs. Even the girls. Finally, I found a job working at one of the fancy Western hotels, putting my skills to work, parking cars. But the one skill I actually don't have is knowing how to drive. So there were some problems. And so they moved me to the bar, which is also a problem because my English isn't too good and I can barely understand what the guests are saying to me. And because they didn't like the way I made drinks, alcohol drinks, which the Quran says is haram, sinful, forbidden by Allah. So I tell my boss that alcohol is haram, and he says, what do you want to do? Pray or work? So one day, this British woman walks in and says, I'll have a vodka martini, dry. I have never heard of this martini. It sounds like some kind of pasta. And then she gets mad and yells, it's vodka and vermouth. Well, I don't know how something like that can be dry, but I pour her some vodka, and then I pour her a whole lot of vermouth. And then 5 minutes later, the boss fires me. It took me a long time to find work after that. So I just sat around in my crowded apartment with our family, like millions of other Egyptian men who've got nothing else to do. But there is one thing that I am very good at. charming the ladies. Yes, especially the pretty ones. No, I don't actually have a fiancé, so some people might say I'm a loser. But I am the only son in my family, so they worship me. Well, my sisters love me sometimes. Okay, so my oldest sister, Dina, hates me. So one time, I was walking down the street behind this woman who was wearing pants that were tight in all the right places, if you know what I mean. So, of course, I go up to her and say, "Hello, hot stuff." Oh! Oh!
My own brother? How dare you? Is this how you treat all the women on the street?
Dina, I could kill you wearing pants and showing the shapes of your legs. Where is your abaya?
Where is your dignity?
Your outfit is way too much. Any other man would have flirted with you too. As our father says, eat to suit yourself, dress to suit others.
Well, if you dropped dead right now, that would suit me fine.
So my family loves me. Anyway, as for now, I'm on my way to Tahrir. I'm sure you've heard of it, seen it on the news, Tahrir Square on CNN. But no, I'm not going there to demonstrate. I am going to Hardee's. Yes, Hardee's, the fast food restaurant. We've got one right in the square, right next to the Kentucky Fried Chicken. But no, I'm not going to eat there. Are you kidding? The cost of their chicken star nuggets with crispy curls would feed my family for a week. No, I am going to work there. That is right. You are looking at a loser with a job, which is more than I can say for the rest of the losers in my neighborhood. Hardee's, it's okay. It's not too bad. There's no alcohol, so that's good. No more dry martinis or any other dry drinks. Just a lot of wet Pepsis on the rocks. At first, I did feel weird serving the burgers with the bacon because you know pork is haram, which is also against Iran. And I did read that part about the pork in the Quran, and that's just disgusting. But I asked the owner and he says, "Oh no, don't worry. It is turkey bacon." So sometimes a customer asks and I say, "Oh no, it's halal, it's allowed. Even the Prophet Muhammad would eat it." But of course, you've got to be careful who you talk with like that. But the best part of the job? Lots of ladies walking in to check out. Yeah. I don't know why, but lots of women love to come to Hardee's. If I ever have a date, I'm going to bring her here. Actually, there is one woman that I do have my eye on. And she's super owie beautiful. And she wears her hijab high like a crown above her head. Oh, she must have long, delicious hair flowing underneath it. Her name is Amira. Well, at least that is the name I have given to her. One day, she came into Hardee's and I said, "Welcome to Hardee's. What can I get for you?"
Give me the Angus bacon large combo.
A very excellent choice, madam. You know, we make it with authentic, imam-inspected halal turkey bacon.
If you say so.
Will you marry me?
How much is that?
Sita Hamsi. She thinks I'm just kidding, but I'm totally serious. I love this girl. I want to marry her. I mean, she must like me too, right? If she didn't, why does she come here every week? I mean, if she didn't love me, she'd go to the KFC, right? Can I tell you a secret? I am saving up to become engaged to Amira. Yes, I know I need a better job. You think I want to be smelling halal turkey grease and scrubbing not so halal toilets for the rest of my life? No. I want an education. I want a better job. I want more money. I want a wife. I want a house. I want children. I want a better life. And I want Amira. Inshallah.
At first I was super terrified of going to the square. Most of the protesters were men, but they did not harass me like they do in the streets. Most of the women there were educated, did not cover their hair, and they dressed like hippies. But they accepted me. We were all together, Muslims, Christians, young and old, from all classes in Cairo. And then more and more women started to come. Some in hijab, some even in niqab, chanting along with our brothers for bread, freedom, and dignity. Aish, Hurriya, Adala, Tahrir al-Masri. It wasn't easy. I was tear-gassed by the military. Felt like my face was on fire. My eyes cried and burned so much. It was like cutting an onion, but 100 times worse. But I was young, and I could take it. Others weren't so lucky. I saw an old man choked to death on this gas. He drowned in his own mucus. But I kept coming back. One morning as I was leaving the house, my mother asked me, "What can one poor woman do to save Egypt?" Maybe nothing. But I wasn't just one. We were many strong and useful women. We helped organize the protests, provided food, and worked in the first aid. It was our idea to bring Pepsi bottles to neutralize the tear gas in our eyes. For some reason, it worked much better than water. I also volunteered to do body searches on the other women coming to the square, so the regime could not sneak in weapons to use against us. We were just as loud as the men in our cries for freedom. We were just as strong when we had to carry hurt or dead bodies. I even started wearing pants and tennis shoes under my abaya. It felt strange at first, but it made it much easier to run from the army or jump over a fence. Every day I went to the square, I thought, today I may die. But for the first time in my life, I felt like I was part of something. For the first time, I felt free. For 18 days, we fought for our lives. And when Mubarak stepped down, we could not believe what we had done. We celebrated all night, and when I went home, I held my daughter and cried. See what one poor Egyptian woman can do? But Mubarak stepping down was just the beginning. There was still so much work to do. We needed fair elections, freedom of speech, and better education for our children. The change was too slow, and the military was still in power. One day I realized we just traded one general for another. It also seemed like some of the men in the square didn't want us there anymore. We had helped them get rid of our dictator, but now they wanted to get rid of us, wanted us to go back home and into the kitchen where we belonged. But this is where I belonged, and so I stayed. The days and weeks passed, and there were more and more protests. More and more people were tortured, humiliated, and killed.
So we bought our tickets, but then just a few days before our trip,
the military crossed a red line.
I want to warn you, you're about to see disturbing images out of Cairo. For the last 4 days, protesters have clashed violently with security forces in Tahrir Square. These images of a woman being dragged, exposed, beaten by Egyptian security forces are fueling even more outrage in Cairo today. The woman's identity has been protected for her safety, but the Egyptian military has weighed in and is defending the use of force. It is another example of the chaos unfolding in Tahrir Square right now.
And the whole world saw.
We were a bit nervous about all the recent turmoil, so I called the hotel. No problem, come. Just go to the pyramids and stay away from Tahrir Square. Tahrir Square is bad. Oh, okay. So where exactly are you located? 2 blocks away from Tahrir Square. Okay. Shukran, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow. Inshallah. Inshallah. If Allah wills it. They say inshallah for all kinds of stuff over there, like, I hope your mother recovers from that broken leg. Inshallah. To, the train is scheduled to arrive at 7. Inshallah. Or, I hope you have a safe trip to Egypt. Inshallah. So, we arrive on Cairo on a Friday, which is like our Sunday. First they pray, then they hit the streets and protest. So we showed up at our hotel, and the female receptionist, Fatima, says, "Welcome, Mr. Avant and Madame." And just like that, my boyfriend and I are married. We told him that when making the reservations, because you can't just show up and say, "Yeah." So I also recommend traveling with your own fake wedding band. But Fatima at the hotel was a fool for a second. "Welcome, Mr. Avant and Madame. Here is your room key. Stay away from Tahrir Square. Tahrir Square is bad. National Museum is good." So we said, "Okay, shukran, thanks." And then we dumped our luggage and ran to the square, because that's how we roll.
Sometimes I see foreign women walking around here. If I spoke English, I'd talk to them. Maybe see if they want coffee, to walk with me a while. Let me show them things. Like Subhan al-Khalili, or the pyramids. Then go back to their hotel afterwards and have sex. Eh? What? It's no big thing for foreign women. You don't have to save $15,000 and marry them just to get in their pants. They have sex like we have coffee. So yesterday, I'm just standing outside, leaning against the building. My boy Omar shows up and says,
"I got a job for you, if you want it. You interested?"
"What, a 10-pound a day job or a real job?"
"Just 300 pounds for just one day. Sound real enough for you?"
300 pounds? 6 pounds is $1. In case you're not so good with math, that's... Anyway, that's a lot of money. What do I got to do?
Hey. Little brother is asking lots of questions for 300 pounds.
What, you want me to kill somebody?
Hey. Nobody said anything about killing. All you have to do is come with me. And if you think you can do that, then meet me at the Shobra Metro tomorrow at 4. Yalla.
So the next day I go to the mosque for Friday prayer. And then at 4 o'clock I go to the station to meet Omar, just like we agreed. I'm on time. He's late. 4:15, 4:30. And I'm like, where the fuck is this guy? I tried to call him, but my phone is all out of credits. Then around 5, he finally shows up with 4 other guys. And I say, "Hey," to Omar. He just nods like he barely knows me. And I say, "Hey, I'm Tariq," to the guys. And they just nod too, like they couldn't care less what my name was. "Yeah? Well, Ari, speak to you too." Whatever. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make 300 pounds. So then we go to the train. Of course, I have to ask Omar for money to buy a ticket. They only cost £1, but I don't even have that. And Omar looks at me like I'm the biggest loser he's ever met.
Habibi, where's your dignity?
Fuck my dignity. Pay me my 300 and I wouldn't be hitting you up for floofs.
Yeah. Allah.
The train gets more and more packed the further we go into town. Which is okay if you're near a woman, because you can touch them a little, and they can't even tell who's holding them, so they can't do shit. But today I'm just crammed in together with Omar and his boys, and about 1,000 other guys I don't really want to grab. And it's hot. You can barely breathe, and what you do breathe smells terrible, what with all those men sweating and farting. What's with that? Guys got all day to fart, but wait till he's on a packed train? Anyway, we finally reach the stop and everyone starts getting out of the cars. Whew, alhamdulillah. And when I come out and onto the platform, I see we're at Tahrir.
When the protest first started, I stayed inside Hardee's. It was too dangerous to go out and join them. I mean, what if I died? Who would take care of my family? Some of my friends said I was a coward, but I had to be practical. I mean, it was easier for them. You don't have to worry about losing a job if you don't have one to lose in the first place. But I would watch from inside Hardee's and saw how the military stripped and beat a woman. And she was wearing a blue bra. But what was she doing out in the square in the first place? It's too dangerous for girls. And why did she not have more clothes on under her abaya?
She had more clothes on. The police ripped them all off of her.
But why was her bra blue? That's weird.
Are you an idiot? You seriously think she's to blame because her bra is blue?
Oh, I don't know. It's just she...
I've got a blue bra and I'm wearing it right now.
Ha! Why does she have to tell me that? I don't want to think about my sister wearing a blue bra. Haram! Now I can't get that thought out of my head.
I want to go to the square tomorrow.
No! The Midan is no place for a girl. I forbid it.
But I am older than you.
And I am the man, and I know what is best.
The next Friday, you know I went to the square. But for the first time, my sister Rania also wanted to come. There were Facebook postings from all the Egyptians' women's groups telling us to be there in solidarity with the woman in the blue bra. There was so much activity on Twitter. Yes, of course I tweet. Even my daughter Yasmin wanted to go. As we made our way to the square, the crowd of women got bigger and bigger. Even the men were cheering us on. Some even joined us. We had to push our way to Tahrir.
When I got to Tahrir, the atmosphere was just so alive. But before we were allowed to enter, we were stopped by these young protest organizers. So we said, Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum means peace be upon you. We salam alaikum to everybody we ever met in the Middle East. The police, vegetable vendors, falafel guy. It sets a tone of respect. And they delightfully responded, Wa alaikum assalam. Min bain inti. Where am I from? Anna Americania. America. Yes, America. Obama. Yes. Obama. Obama's good. Yes, he's good most of the time. Bush is bad. Oh, yes, Iowa. Bush is super bad. Bush is owie. He's bad Bush. Ahlan, welcome to Egypt. So then they patted us down for weapons because this was a peaceful protest. In case it got violent, they couldn't blame the people for starting it. And they even had a female patter downer for the ladies. And when we entered the square, I was a bit nervous because, remember, this was just a couple of days after the woman with the blue bra went down. Remember when the military went crazy and started beating people up, arresting them, and ripping women's clothes off? And nobody knew which way it was going to go. Better or a whole lot worse. So my boyfriend looked in different directions and pulled me aside and said, Anna, I am 95% sure nothing bad is going to happen today. However, in case the shit hits the fan, plan A is we run over that way towards the Nile. And if that doesn't work, plan B is we run over that way to the National Museum. You can tell that some strategic thought had gone into the directions he pointed to, and it made sense. That's my man. Planning our escape from the Supreme Council of Armed Forces in Egypt. Get hot. I bet Lonely Planet never thought of that.
So we're going up the platforms and then onto the stairs, and it feels like we're in an underground river, flowing up and back to the surface. And when we finally spill out of the station door and onto the street and... Man! The square is crazy! All those people? I mean, I'd seen it on TV all during the uprising, but this is the first time I'm there live, and it's like everybody in Cairo is there. All 20 million of us. And it's like a huge street party. Musicians are playing their drums, people are dancing and chanting. Aish, hooray, adala, bread, freedom, equality. So suddenly, I find myself chanting too. Aish, hooray, adala, bread, freedom, equality. And all of a sudden, I feel good. Like I matter.
When I got to the square that day, it was packed with women. And all kinds of women. Not just the one who wear the tight jeans and sleep in the tents with men. No. So I started to worry. But then it got so crazy busy that I didn't have time to think about anything else but bacon burgers. And also, if the square gets so busy, that means that so many people want to eat. And so many people want to sneak a free trip to the toilet. Yes, it happens all the time. And just like that, this woman walks in with her daughter and says,
Can my daughter please use the toilet?
you must buy something first. But you could tell by looking at them that they wouldn't even have enough to buy onion rings.
Minfadlik, please, she really has to go.
Asfa, sorry, my boss says no.
Ya ibnakan.
Okay. And then another woman walks in. At first I think she's Egyptian, and then she opens her mouth. Assalamu alaikum. She sounds funny. And then I see that her husband is a Western man. And I wonder, what are they doing here? Min fadlik, wayna al hammam. You want to use the toilet? You must buy something first. So the husband orders a mineral water and pays with a 100-pound note. I don't have change for that. And he understands, so he finds some smaller money. They are rich. So I let the lady use the toilet. But then I wonder, will it be clean enough for her? Because when I worked at the hotel, many Westerners complained about cleanliness. But she comes out very happy and says, Shukran gazilan. Elaf, you're welcome. Americans must be nice to go wherever you want, buy whatever you want, and use the toilet whenever you want. I wonder what that would be like.
كنت فين من زمان بديت السور نورت النور لفيت حواليك شعري مكسور اتولدنا من جديد واتولدنا الحلم العام. So after a while we sat on some railings near the stage. And then I see this woman. She's kind of old, but is showing her hair, so I make my move. تحبي سيجارة?
What?
تحبي سيجارة?
Oh, I'm sorry, Asfa, شوي عربي. I don't speak Arabic.
من فين? Where are you from?
Anna, American.
أمريكية. Good. You want cigarette? But then her husband shows up out of nowhere and says, لا شكرا, no thanks. لا شكرا. I wasn't talking to you, dude. اسمك ايه? What is your name?
Oh, Anna, S.D. Anna. Oh, اسمك
I am Tariq.
Tariq. اتشرفنا. Nice to meet you.
And then the husband tells me his name, but it's weird. It sounds like he swallowed something wrong.
Doyle. His name is Doyle.
I'll forget it. Why would a parent ever give their son a fucked up name like that? But then a speaker on stage starts leading this chant. Arfa rasik fawq, inta Masri.
What does that mean?
Lift your head high, you're Egyptian. Arfa rasik fawq, inta Masri. Lift your head high, you're Egyptian. And all of a sudden, I feel happy. Everyone is smiling and shouting and raising their fists. And suddenly I feel like I'm a part of something. Something big. Something strong. Something that's not going to take this shit anymore. Maybe something will change. Maybe we can finally get rid of these guys who've been lying to us and stealing from us all these years.
And then this female protester walked by and handed me this flyer.
Hey there, A. Oh, what is that? She shows me, and it's a woman lying on the ground wearing a blue bra and jeans. That's strange, but wow. Look at the size of her pizzazz, huh? Damn, she's hot. Gamila, de Gamila, ow.
Gamila, which means beautiful, but you can tell he was putting his own spin on the word Gamila. But then suddenly, I saw something very Gamila. In the middle of this pack of people was a sea of different colored headscarves. A sea of women. Only women. Chanting women. Women yelling, women listening, and women raising up their hands, and some of them were wearing the hijab, and some of them were even wearing the niqab. You know, that gown that only leaves a slit for the eyes? And some of them weren't wearing any of those things at all and looked like some of my comadres from back home. I mean, at this point I hadn't left my man's side. I mean, I was in Cairo, in Tahrir Square, for Christ's sake. I wasn't gonna leave him. But I found myself jumping off the railing and into the sea of my brown Middle Eastern hermanas.
Maybe I drew over the flyer a little too long because this Anna chick jumps away and yells,
Bye! Masalama!
and just like that, she is out of my life. No coffee, no pyramids, no pussy, no nothing. And then I noticed Omar and his friends don't really seem to be into what's going on. Yalla, we're going. So I wave goodbye to the husband with a weird name, and we start moving through the crowd. And then Omar points forward at something I can't see, and suddenly his friends start to move like this wild pack of dogs. And now I know why I'm here.
Wow. These women are badass! And they started chanting, Benat Masad Hat Amar. I didn't know what it meant, but I just made up my own meaning. Yeah! We are all the woman with the blue bra! But the coolest part was that the men created this protective ring by linking their arms together, and only women were allowed to enter. Finally, a place where I was welcome and my boyfriend wasn't. You see, in all my excursions to cities in Syria and Jordan, I only talked to men because they were the only ones allowed to work in the shops, hotels, restaurants, and taxis. But here, the women were speaking out against brutality, fighting for respect.
Banat Masal Khat Ahmar! Egyptian girls are a red line! Banat Masal Khat Ahmar! Egyptian girls are a red line!
Que viva las mujeres! Can I take a picture?
Yes, where are you from?
Oh, America, Texas.
Ah, Texas! Tell Texas of strong Egyptian women.
Oh, I will. Shukran, thank you.
We were having a great time. After a while, we became thirsty and wanted to get some water, but the crowd was so packed together that we couldn't move. We made it out of the protective circle for women and were standing by a crowded podium. Then a man came to us and said, I can lead you out. And so we walked behind him. But then he stops, turns to us and smiles like something is funny. And suddenly we are surrounded by 15 or 20 shabab, young boys. My daughter started crying, and one of the boys grabbed her from behind and tries to take her away. My sister Rani and I pull the boy away from her, but then he grabs me and shoves me into another group of men.
I finally leave the circle of protection for women.
They form a circle around me.
I find my boyfriend and we start walking around the square.
They are moving closer and closer and start grabbing my breasts and my private parts. They rip off my abaya.
We were just soaking in the energetic atmosphere.
They try to pull off my hijab, but it gets stuck around my neck and I start to choke.
But it didn't seem like the volatile place we had just seen on the news.
Until at last they rip it off, and for the first time in years, my hair is exposed to all these strangers.
There were families, Men, women, children, grandparents.
And when they see my hair, the men get even more crazy. They start pulling it so hard that chunks of it start coming out. I start to think they are going to pull off my scalp.
Vendors were selling street food, tea, cigarettes.
Many hands are pull my shirt away in many pieces. Rough hands are now pulling off my bra so hard that the metal on the back tears into my skin
And there weren't any police or military personnel in sight.
and one of them is able to grab the zipper on my trousers and violently jerks it off. Many hands are now pulling down my underwear, and I feel the air on my back.
This place is just magical.
The looks in their eyes, something not human, but vicious animals, like starving lions staring into a piece of meat.
This is one of the best days of my life.
Suddenly, I am completely naked and they are raping me all over with their disgusting fingers. I keep pleading with them, have mercy on me, why are you doing this? And somewhere in the crowd I hear my daughter crying and screaming, why are you doing this to my mother? But every time I yell for them to stop, more come in. Some look like Safahin, thugs, and some look like normal people, like a shopkeeper or the guy you buy tomatoes from every day. One of them yells, I'm gonna help you, even as his jagged fingernails are inside me. I didn't know who was trying to help and who wasn't. It's like I'm in some horrible human washing machine, being spun and pushed and pulled, grabbed and crushed. It is a circle of hell. I fall down, I get dizzy and fall down on my knees, and they press down onto me, pushing me further down in the greasy filth of the square. I can barely breathe, and suddenly I know that if my face touches the ground, I'll never get up again. Stay on your feet. Don't fall to the ground, I tell myself, and muster all my strength to stand up again and start struggling for breath. And the hands and fingers are all over me again. And I start to sink back down and then fight my way back up and then down and up, and then I think maybe I should stop fighting. Maybe getting smothered to death would be better than this. I'm so tired. I have no fight left. Yalla, push me down into my grave and let this end. But then I think of Yasmin. No, I must survive. I must survive. The mob has moved close to a Hardy's restaurant and I see the door. I can see other women in there, and the sight of them gives me some hope. But how do I get in?
I hear a lot of noise outside. There are many men yelling. So at first I think that they are getting after a thief. So I go outside to have a smoke and see what's going on, but it's impossible. There's too many of them. So I climb the railing, and there are many men up there laughing. So I say, what's going on? And they say, oh, nothing. They're just having fun with a woman. A woman? So I look in the mob of the men, and I see a flash of skin. And then I see a woman's breasts with nothing covering them. And I've never seen a like naked woman before. And they are around her like feral dogs. And then she disappears in them. But then I see her again, and this time it's her backside. And it's covered with blood. And the mob twists her face, and then I see her, and for a second we lock eyes. And then she disappears again. My body's frozen. I can't believe that this is actually happening, but it is happening. And I've seen men chase women on the streets before, but never anything like this. And I know I should help her, but there's too many of them. And I hear my boss calling for me to come back to work. And I don't want to lose my job. And besides, these men will hurt me too.
I turn to the man behind me, who I'm using to hide my nakedness. He is abusing my backside, and I can feel his stubbly chin cutting on my bare shoulder, and can smell his rancid cigarette breath. But I yell in his ear, I am a mother, and you are a gentleman and a hero. I choose you to protect me. I don't know what I was thinking. But suddenly he reaches down and rips off his belt, and I think, oh Allah, protect me. Now he is going to rape me with something besides his hands. But instead, he starts swinging the belt madly, whipping everyone around him with it and screaming like crazy. I am the one who will protect her. I am the one who will protect her. I don't know what had woken his heart or his conscience. But the next thing I know, there is a slim path leading to the restaurant door.
The mama man gets closer to the door, so I go run back inside, and my boss yells, Ahmed, lock the door! Or the mob will come in and they will ruin the restaurant! So I don't know what to do. I just go to lock the door, but then suddenly, the naked woman's body is pushed up against it, and I see her face again, but this time, no. She has the brightest and the biggest eyes I have ever seen. So full of fear, but so full of life. And she's holding on to this man that is beating the others with his belt. The only way she will be safe is if we get her inside.
I see the same Hardy's worker from earlier in the day. I use all the energy I have left and dive for the door.
I open the door and grab her arm and she grabs mine, but the mob outside still has her feet.
I see this man as my only hope, and I hold on so tight and vow. No matter what, I am not letting go. Even if my arm rips off, I am not letting go.
It is too much for me, so I yell for my coworker, Muhammad, help! So he grabs her other arm, and
it is like a tug of war against the best of men and the worst of men. The Hardy's worker yells at the thug,
You let him come, you sons of bitches! You're gonna kill her!
And the man with the belt is overtaken by the mob, and they start beating him. And then I can't see him anymore.
And this is too much for me, but I don't know where my strength comes today. All I think is, this is my sister. This is not Egypt. This is not Islam.
And the women inside Hardy start to throw their currencies at these animals' eyes, but it gets on my feet. And with all the grime from the ground, it makes them very slippery. And finally, I am pulled into the restaurant.
But the mob outside doesn't give up, and they're banging on the door, so it takes the strength of everyone inside to shut the door and lock it. But they still don't give up, and they're banging on the windows.
I watched in horror as the fists of the mob beat on this metal door.
We hide the woman in the bathroom.
Until at last they give up. It is finally over, but even in the sanctuary of the fast food restaurant, I am still hysterical and look like a wild animal.
Her hair is all over the place, and her naked body is completely black from the filth and sewage of the streets.
An old man gives me an Egyptian flag to cover my nakedness.
And I give her my cell phone and my trousers.
I call my sister. Rania, I'm alive.
And she lies there on the bathroom floor waiting for her family, like a broken rag doll. How can they do this to a woman? This is not revolution. This has nothing to do with revolution.
Where's my money?
What money? You're not getting any money.
What do you mean? You
Yahawal! Faggot!
Eh?
You weren't with us.
What are you talking about? I was with you. I was all up inside that
Yeah, up inside and taking her inside Hardy's like she's your fucking grandmother. Where's your belt? You think I'm blind?
It was enough.
Enough?
We done enough.
I will say when she's had enough. The boys don't think you're with us.
Not with you, I'm with you.
If you say so. But if I were you, I'd be careful walking around here at night. Because if the boys see you, they might decide to give you a little demonstration of what with us really means. And they won't be using their fingers of you.
I want to go with you guys next Friday.
We'll see.
Come on, man, times are really tight. I need the money.
I said, we'll see. I'll tell you one thing. All these Sharamit sluts and their sons and their Sharamit daughters, they're gonna destroy this country.
Maybe he's right. I know what I did was wrong. It felt good, though. Have you ever held a woman's breast in your hand? Whoa, it feels amazing. I want to feel that again, every day with my Layla. The last thing falling asleep and the first thing waking up. But she called me last week and broke off our engagement. Her family got tired of waiting.
What did you expect? A happy ending? This is as good as it gets for someone like me in Egypt. Over the years, we've saved lots of girls from the thugs. Somebody has to be paying some of them to start it because, come on, it's not like all the rapists in Cairo just happen to be hanging out at Hardee's. Saving them has become routine. It is sad. But my Egyptian brothers and sisters, they're no longer afraid. And they keep on fighting. And as for my love life, still no fiancé. I haven't even seen Amira in a while. But I don't flirt with the girls so much anymore. It just doesn't feel right. I remember the first woman we saved, and I wonder what happened to her. Her name was Hela, like a halo around the moon. Shining halo, Hela. I'll never forget her eyes. Sometimes I wish she'd come and visit me. But why would she ever come back here? But she's out there somewhere. And I hope she's still shining.
I went to the hospital after the attack. While the doctor was examining the damage to my intimate areas, he said, "Why were you in the square in the first place?" The nurse told me you should not make a police report. No man will ever want to marry you again if he knows your body has been shamed. The rest of our trip to Egypt was wonderful. We walked around the streets of Cairo, the pyramids, the souks, had a romantic dinner on a rooftop cafe. I did get harassed a bit, though, when I was exploring on my own without my boyfriend. Mainly by grown men, but I was also followed by a group of young boys. At first I thought they were trying to pickpocket me, but then they pressured the shyest one to grab my ass. He reluctantly did, and then they ran off laughing quickly. I went to the police station, but they told me in order to file a report, I would have to be able to identify the men. But how could I do that? There were over 100 of them. A few weeks later, I'm back in Beirut, watching Al Jazeera in Arabic, and I was only half paying attention. But then suddenly, Tahir is on the screen, and the date, December 23rd, the day we were there. I had bruises and cuts all over my body. My ankle was injured from where they dragged me on the ground, and my neck ached for a week from where they tried to strangle me with my hijab.
And they show bits of the square where we were standing and where all the women had gathered near the stage. And I can't see myself because there's so many people, but it didn't matter. I was just remembering how incredible it was.
I healed enough physically to return to my cleaning job, but being on the crowded buses, streets, and markets made my heart beat so hard and fast it felt like I was dying. I couldn't go to work anymore and would scream every time someone would wake me from sleep.
But then they showed these shots taken from high up that looked like a fight was breaking out. And then the announcer keeps yelling, "Haram, haram!" And then I look closer and I see that the men aren't fighting at all. That they're swarming around a woman. Hundreds of them, ripping her clothes off.
I have tried to forget. There's one thing I can't get out of my mind. At the worst moment, when I was surrounded and there were dozens of hands all over me, I looked up and saw 30 or so men on a fence, sitting there and watching me. All of them were smiling and laughing, recording me with their cell phones. These men, I would like to see again. Yes, I would like to see them again and ask, what is so funny? A naked woman covered in sewage being raped? Does this amuse you? Would you laugh if I were your mother? Would you make a video if I were your sister?
A few weeks later, I went back to my job at the San Antonio AIDS Foundation, where I'm an HIV test counselor. I love helping people, but there are some tough days. Like, about once a week, we get a rape survivor. And those particular sessions are emotional for them, and for me too. You see, it's never happened to me, but about 25 years ago, one night, a young man broke into my abuela's house, and he raped her while she was asleep in bed. And she didn't speak English, so my mother had to take her to the hospital, where she had to go through an examination kit for rape and get tested for HIV. She was 70 years old at the time, and her rapist was never caught. What kind of man rapes a 70-year-old woman?
What kind of man rapes anyone? Some people have told me, sorry you were attacked, but can you please keep quiet? It will ruin the image of the revolution. Those feek! I am not the one ruining the revolution. These men violating women are the ones ruining the revolution. These men who attacked me are not true Egyptians. The true Egyptian men are the ones that pulled me to safety and covered my nakedness with their own clothes.
Did you know that San Antonio had the highest rate of rape in Texas? I was almost a statistic once. One time, I got this ride home from this guy who said he knew my sister from high school. And we had spent all day together at this conference, so I thought he was okay. But on the ride home, he pulled over to some park on the west side, and he pushed my seat down, and he jumped on top of me. And I begged him, please stop. But he just kept forcing his tongue in my throat. And so finally I just said, what are you gonna do? Rape me? And that made him stop. But he had this expression on his face like, well, no, I guess not if you put it that way. Thank God I put it that way.
Thank God. I have faith that Allah will help me through this, and I will not stay silent or be terrorized into hiding in my home. What will you have left in the square without the strong and brave Egyptian women? I still cannot go near Hardy's though. Sometimes I can see the worker who rescued me from far away, and he is outside sweeping or smoking his cigarette.
Sometimes I think about my time in Tahrir, and I think about jumping into the circle of protection for women, and I think about the beautiful men who made that safe circle. And I think about the beautiful women inside it, fighting for a better world. And I hope that they're okay.
Since I was assaulted, women have fought the new government to make sexual harassment in Egypt a crime, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. There's a lot more work to be done for sure, but at least people are talking about it. And at least I am not alone. Other women have shared their stories of being attacked too. And now there are many revolutionaries fighting to stop sexual assault, like Tahrir Bodyguard and Operation Anti-Sexual Harassment. These brave volunteers, men and women, will go into the square and save women who are being attacked, risking their own lives too. They are also helping women report harassment at work, school, and in the streets. These are the real Egyptians. These are the real revolutionaries.
I would love to go back to Cairo, but there's a lot of work to do here too, and a lot of badass men and women to do it with. Like all the warriors at the Rape Crisis Center, and all the Buena Gente at the San Antonio Peace Initiative, fighting every day to end violence against women and families. It's tough, pero...
Nombre, I'm ready. I am ready with the fire of my voice.
I am ready
To tell the story of what is happening every day to me and to my sisters. And keep telling it. And telling it until there is a real revolution. In Egypt,
in Texas,
Tahrir is our Midan and no one can take it away from us. Mish Nimshi, we will not leave.
No nos irmos! We will not leave!
We will not leave.
حبيبي حبيبي